This is a Standard Group Editors Podcast, the daily podcast. And as usual, we have the heavy hitters. Two gentlemen, men who have covered the political scene, and the man who has interviewed the president. Welcome, gentlemen. Introduce yourselves.
Ken Mijungu. Sometimes I read news. I'm an editor at KTN News.
Yeah, Kipkoech Tanui, head of news and group executive editor of the Standard Group.
Tanui, you know, today when I saw the president talking, and he looked totally different from the first State of Nation address he did the other time. There are so many concessions. Is it good enough? And what can you read from this latest one?
First, I think the word concession is debatable there, because it's one thing to respond to pressure. It's another thing to sustain it and to actually believe and internalize and drive it. So we actually believe, more importantly, that the president will sustain this process. I think it would be a turning point for Kenya. But for the action that he has done, yes, he's climbed down. In his own words, I've done a lot of reflection. I am happy that today he opened his first state address to the nation with a message of condolence to the people who lost their loved ones, their children, during the riots. It was not stuck in somewhere or said by passing. He went ahead to even address the mothers and all that, and even promised that they will be helped. At no time did he mention that they are criminals, so they will be pursued, although there seems to be a crackdown on them. But I would see that the president was really different. But the question is, for how long?
Ken, for how long? What Tanui is asking, for how long will the president sustain this?
It is the first time in the history of this country, and I think in the history of out of the 54 countries in Africa, I don't know which country the citizens have managed in the recent past to push the executive or the ruling class this far. The president, this has been happening for 3 weeks. The president has been quiet from Sunday. He has spoken today, and the things the president has said goes to the core of everything that has been happening. So if the question is how long or how far can this go, I think to the logical conclusion, because the last time we spoke, we said what the I learned yesterday when I was watching a TV station, and the interior CS was insisting it's not the protesters, right? He insisted on the term that is used by the Constitution. So I think it will go as far as the president thinks that people will be satisfied and they can now let him focus. That is how I see it. So he has made so many concessions. I don't know what's debatable in the word concessions, because these were expressed demands from the president, from the youth. And the president, they pushed him back to an extent that he has taken radical decisions that previously we never thought that he would at this particular point. Telling civil servants at the age of 60 that you must retire, it's mandatory, to create jobs for the youth, and it can never be renewed. Telling citizens that apart from the fact that we have been collapsing and putting together parastatals, we want 47 of them gone. Remember the debate on selling the parastatals. Saying that the office of the First Lady is part of the Deputy President. Those are concessions that people demanded. And the most important, the secretive budget, what they call confidential budget, has totally been removed. Austerity, travel completely. Suspension now, from the interview he said, until this economy is able to shoulder the employment of CISs, he said it's been suspended completely, employment of CISs. I mean, purchase of motor vehicles and innovation, completely done away with. I mean, so he's been pushed so much that he's not yet on the wall, but he has given what we call blood to the people who are asking for it.
Yeah, but Ken, you know, the president anticipated and Kenyans waited for it. What did they expect? The sum total of this debate today, that he's going to trim his cabinet,
exactly,
and he's going to act on those who are bringing him, putting him in a very difficult position. He has promised that I'll do it shortly. Shortly is a very relative term.
Exactly.
You don't know that
You
shortly.
don't know.
Yeah, but he's promised.
Yeah.
On this X-Space, the one he hosted, he's been asked specific question, for example, on the Minister for Agriculture and the issue of fertilizers. And he said, I do not have hard evidence. The people that were implicated are in court. It's a court process. But this, as to the issue of Mithuka Linduri, he faced Parliament for like the political as face of the trial, and he was judged innocent. Of course, there were accusations of rape and all that. But the message to Mr. President is this: Kenyans are waiting to see what he will do with those that are clearly have clearly taken him to where he is. He is in pain. Our president is in pain. This pain is inflicted by his associates. When he said an end to Arambe, I hope behind the scene he has had very, very serious discussions with the people who have been carrying money in sacks, in Naivas shopping bags. Like money is nothing. You know, people are waiting to see this opulence, this display of wealth in the midst of this suffering. What is he going to do? And that is the line that people are going to see in terms of concessions, whether the president really is ready to sacrifice his friends. They are known. It's known what they don't do anything else. I talked about some time ago the Sinikwe position. The old positions that are not that are not a match for what they are dishing around. Ask yourself, with due respect to Honorable Sudi, he's gone quiet. Maybe silent with these millions in the house now, in the bank. But when you give 20, what kind of business generates an amount that you can give 20 million in one charge, and some other millions another, and we sit as if nothing happens?
And you do not have a business which runs.
Yes, even drug dealers don't display that kind of money. I don't know.
In fact, they hide it.
They hide it.
Yes.
And I like the fact that I'm Kalenjin, and I was very happy when Gerard Gay talked about Kalenjin saying that means a lot more to us than. But I hope people understand.
Yes.
And the president definitely understands more.
Yeah.
That when you are fitted to your field,
Yes.
as a person,
Yeah.
have the ampleness and the dignity and the respect when you meet somebody who is hungry. Don't open your shirt and show the guy your stomach. Ting, you see me? I'm full. Because you're irritating that fellow.
Okay.
And the guy is hungry.
The guy is hungry, yes.
And then you go ahead and say, education doesn't matter. You guys, and you know the youngsters, many of them are very educated, but they don't have jobs. And you tell them, even the job you gave me to go to parliament, I do not have to go there and speak English. I'll go to Tanzania and make money. What is that? So I hope the president will cross that other line and take action. Not like his predecessor. President will walk up one time and told us, I've drawn the red line. Maybe it was drawn in sand. We never saw the red line. Did you see the red line? But if the president has drawn the red line, people want to see action.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Tanui, and maybe I ask Ken, the president seems to have moved into the self-preservation mode.
Yeah.
Is he preserving himself, or does he mean to do this for Kenyans?
You know, one time I remember in 2023, the first interview the president gave, and I asked about the state of the economy. So I asked the president an express question. So I asked Mr. President, your country has been listed as one of the countries that are possibly going to default in the payment of the loans we have. And I said, your country. And the president responded and asked me, so Ken, wewe inchi yako ni gani? You know, he threw it back to me.
Yes.
But at that point, things were not where they are. What I was trying to tell the president at that time is, if this country falls, it rises and falls with you. If Kenya succeeds in the 5 years, they will say, under President Ruto. Yes. If Kenya falls, they'll say, under President Ruto. So as much as I'm a stakeholder in this country, and I know Tanui doesn't like the word stakeholder, but as much as I'm a citizen of this country...
Tanui told you, Ken, you must learn this thing.
I must, and I'm learning every day.
Okay.
So I told the president, and the president responded. So the question is it a self-preservation mode? It's as necessary as yesterday. You need to cover your behind first before you cover someone's behind. You can't leave yours exposed and cover someone's behind. So the president right now is in that mode that he's saying, if I can do anything to convince these Kenyans who are baying for my blood, who are saying Ruto must go, who are every day singing and tweeting, and he's been trending 3 weeks straight with that hashtag. If I can save myself by giving them a little blood, and I'll be okay. That's what he's been trying to do. Even when he said that you will see changes in the government soon, right? Is the self-preservation. He's trying to see, if I touch this live wire, what does it compare to the wrath of Kenyans? So yes, he has to. And we know the presidents, 2 before him, who had 3 before him, who had to make those hard decisions. That it comes a time, then my presidency, my time at the helm is more important than the people who surround me, who are using proxy to eat. He has to make that decision.
Tanui, what do you think? Will he make that tough decision, like the predecessors?
I like what Ken is saying. I told you I was in the university in those days when we used to say Moi stood for my own interests.
Yes.
And that for any president, however gigantic you are, however legendary you think you are, there's nothing that bothers you more than to face a personal attack. President Ruto is a Bible carrying
Christian. Yeah.
He talks about Christianity. He goes to church, but the word that it now is going preceding him as he moves is a liar. Whether he's a liar or not, that is a stigma. It's something that is sticking. It is something that he has to work on. That he's got a slick tongue, delivering very, very juicy promises, but doing something else. So I think where he is, and I following again what I said, it's reflection. Where he is on that reflection mode must have actually given him a shock that, hey, this is what actually people see me to be, that I don't mean what I say, and that people don't trust me. That I have no human sensitivity. I just talk about figures, statistics, data. People are sleeping hungry, and you are keeping all those career friends, and the country is going. So the thing is, he must get the train of his regime or his government back on track, and that to do that, he's in that bus. He's in that bus. It's the way Moi used to tell us. I'm a driver of a bus, and inside it I'm carrying pickpockets, I'm carrying thieves, I'm getting drunkards and all that. Now he has to clean his state house. Remember, he complained about 2 things very clearly. And that tells you that he has been doing soul searching. And we have to give him credit. One, he said, when he was asked about his cabinet, whether he thinks they succeeded, he said they could have done better. For when a president, when your boss tells you about that, if our minister would be having sleepless nights, because it's a very loaded statement.
And it's not the first time, Tanui, just to remind you. Remember the time he said that he knows more about their ministries than they do.
Yes. Yeah. And then the second, of course, he said that my communication system failed. And you see a president running away from his past because he had ignored totally the mainstream media.
Yes.
He was convinced by one of his aides, that's what I'm told, that you came to power without the support of the media, as if we are supposed to support one party and not the other. But that's what in his thinking. He spent 2 years talking about the media as useless, it can be bypassed, he demeaned us, he put all roadblocks.
Took away our livelihood.
Yes, to the extent that you have the ICT ministry became anti-media and became a friend of bloggers and the alternative media. So the president surely is pained. He has diagnosed this problem, and I think where we are now in Kenya is we are waiting to see how he'll now deal with his own admission that my cabinet failed, my communication system failed. And you remember in that debate, he put one of the lines. He said, "I hope today." In engaging those traditions, I hope today I have found the better way to communicate to the hearts of Kenyans.
And when he said he hoped today, remember one of the questions was, Mr. President, are you tone deaf? Has he responded to it by today's expression today in the State of the Nation address?
That question was connected to the feelings and emotions of Kenyans.
Yeah.
And this was from Eric Latif.
Yeah.
Because Kenyans increasingly thought he does not hear what they're saying. He doesn't hear their demands. So today we have seen he has acted on some of those express demands. The elephant in the room, however, is wanasemanga ati Charles Simbaya ni wale watu
wako kando yake.
wako kando yako, the people are surrounding you. And I think that is the crux of the matter in this thing. People need to see the people who have failed the president away, out of his space, so that if at all he fails to deliver, because Charles, let's not forget fundamentally that the president has done 2 years. In this country, you can only work for 3 years. No, for 2 years. Second year and third year. Fourth year, you've started campaigns. 2 years are gone. 1 year is gone. Now, from what is happening, it's a reset button. He has to redo his government afresh, which means he's starting first year right now. Right? So fundamentally, he has taken a decision based on the feelings that initially, and that's where Tanui started from. Initially, he thought, it's more important to tell Kenyans the real pictures. Kenyans didn't want to see the real picture. Kenyans wanted you to respond to specific feelings and emotions, and they're very close to their heart. So yes, he's tone deaf, he was. But I think the fact that he's taken those decisions and taken the words out of their mouth and responded to them, I think right now he's begun. But the elephant in the room remains. These people who have failed you, what are they still doing? Because you can't lie to us about Mythical Inturi. We saw it regardless of the political process that saved him. You can't lie about those other CSs that are being mentioned left, right, center. Kenyans see what they're doing. You can't lie about people who are dishing money and they're still in State House. And they're the people who determine which guests come in. Right? CSs are complaining. PSs are complaining. For them to get access to State House, they have to go through other people. The deputy president himself at one point said, unajua huyu Faruk nilifikiria. You remember that?
Yes.
And Uko, he's a very important man. So there are few people who Kenyans are seeing as these are the people responsible for where we are currently. Are they still around you, Mr. President? Yes, they're still around you. So that statement that you will indeed see changes in the government must draw real blood. And what is real blood? Get rid of the people around you. Let's see in the coming months if it works for you. Then we'll say, yeah, they were the problem. Now the president has the right men.
Tanui, is the president responding to economic problem through a political solution?
I think he tried to sell an economic solution without giving the human face of it. That I think he believed that everyone was thinking the way he was thinking.
Yeah.
That we are chasing these taxes, it's for your good. But he was not looking at the fact that these younger people are not interested in the tax you'll make and what you'll do. It is how you are stopping the wastages. Opulence. You see, that is where the president is being drawn to. He has crossed the line. For him, he was selling us the message. This is good for you guys. This is the medicine. I'm the doctor. I've consulted. This is what you need to swallow.
In a few months, you'll be okay.
Yes. And it's just a matter of little pain, the side effects of these drugs that have come to. But people are going back and saying, but in the first place, what is aggravating my situation?
Yeah.
What are the preventive measures? How do we share this bread? And that's why now the president is confined to a space where he has very specific, what is expected to be is very clear, like day and night. And there's a checklist. You've done this, you've not done this. That's responding. But the most important thing to me is the good faith. The good faith in that there will be no monkey games. Say, there is the president, there is a deputy president, their wives are at offices and they had budgets. I hope it will not be hidden within the executive budget. You see, you tell us, yes, there was a confidential budget. I think that's the one that's you use left, right, center to private business. Yes, that it's at your disposal. But a president is so powerful, and the system, it is his system. People believe that and hope and pray that it is in good faith that he has said that, and that they'll not be hidden within this.
Other budgets.
Ask yourself, Charles,
budget.
this money that we have not, we have addressed the danger of Harambee in Kenya. It is what Kibaki had stopped. It's a good thing, and you pity the people that we help every day. They have lost their a member of the family. The child is out of school. There is a very serious sickness in the family that is wiping away their resources. This was a crucial, but it is abused, and now we are stopping Harambee. But we are not addressing the source of that money. We are blaming Harambee. Stopping Harambee alone will not stop the theft. If those guys who are displaying millions, nobody knows whether anyone has gone to check the taps,
That are giving them
the money. So we have only blocked this public display. The consumption may continue. That's why I was saying it is, and the president has to prove over the next few months that his statements are backed by actions, and actions that demonstrate that really Kenyans are not being fleeced left, right, and center and being taxed. Let's begin with the bigger question, for example, on Nairobi and the collection of revenue. It is a complexity that politicians have claimed it. The root of that money being lost in Nairobi goes all the way to State House. Isn't it?
Yes.
Yes, and Sagaja is under pressure. So people want to see are those taps being closed? Is there a saving? If it isn't, Kenyans will come back and say, Mr. President, it was all words. And they will remind him that in the past, he began this presidency with a big promise. I was so disappointed myself that it is only after these agencies protest that he has ordered an audit of the national debt.
Yes.
And yet, when he came to power, he said that your money was being poured out and it was not being used for what it was. It was being pocketed. Honestly, the first thing you do is to audit. But you see, that's another complexity. He was a deputy president.
In the same regime.
In the same regime that was borrowing heavily, that is being audited.
Yeah.
So,
Can
is there something that
can
we don't...
I make it worse? Fiscal and monetary policy.
Yes.
When he was deputy president, the monetary policy was being handled by Njuguna Ndung'u, professor, as the governor of central bank. The fiscal policy was being handled by the current governor, the PS then. His name, Tuge, Kamau Tuge.
We're in government.
He was in government. So President Ruto was the deputy president. Fiscal policy was Kamau Thuge. Kamau Thuge now he's in
Central Bank.
Central Bank.
Yes.
Monetary policy was under Njuguna Ndung'u. Now he's there at Treasury.
Yes.
And you are the president. What solution are you giving us? You were there when all these monies were being borrowed, including Eurobond that has given us hell. When Paris Club and London Club gave us hell. Then now you're saying the same people that got us to this mess are still sitting with you. Kenyans who are jinga, they can say it. You can't reshuffle, take Ndung'u, who was the governor then when money was being borrowed, put him at Treasury, take the guy who was at Treasury, Tuge, and put him at Central Bank. What are you telling us?
And exactly.
And you are
The president.
you're the president.
That's exactly the problem, Ken. Well, I think it is a bit of a the irony.
Yeah.
It's a bit funny, but it is the truth that the president meant well with this campaign strategy of bottom up.
Yes.
And he put a lot of emphasis on Mama Mboga, border, and all that.
Yes.
But it seems it went to his mind that there is a very critical elements in society now. The young people are not the ordinary Mamba Mboga that we used to have. Mamba Mboga is very educated, they don't have a job. Border people, some have degrees, they don't have jobs. So they see into this. So the president might have gone into this thinking these are the ordinary riffraffs. Very poorly educated, very lacking political consciousness. So he mobilized them and they believed in him. Now they're asking for their pound of flesh. And they are able to question. And so the people that you listen to, they are seeing through the president. They're asking questions like that. If you are doing this, why are you not getting this?
Yeah.
And that's why the president has climbed down from the citadel of power, Ivory Tower, State House, where the high on grills and all that, to a virtual space where he's engaging faceless young guys. And they're asking questions. Yes, they're asking questions.
In their own terms,
yes,
in their own space.
Yes, so the president has taken him. It has taken him time, but he has found that this demographic, which is millions, have got the hard questions and they can turn the country around. Remember, and I was joking with my daughter. I said, "I hope you don't do that." They said, "You people have been lied to for many years, so we will." When it come election time, we hide your IDs so that you don't vote and give us wrong choices. And I'm sure many fathers and mothers are facing the same. They're asking those questions. Why do you guys have to go through this? Huh? Thank you.
Ken, and Tanui has really summed it up. If you look at now the way you're saying that President Ruto was part of the same regime which has worked and he wants to audit the public debts, Then he has told us so many other things. If you look at his concessions, has he met the Gen Z demands?
Partly. But remember, there's the elephant in the room.
Yes.
There is the side shows. There's so many side shows, so many demands. Like Tanui is saying, we can, if you don't have goodwill, nothing will move. You can say that there's no longer an office of First Lady, right?
Yeah.
But the budget that was allocated there comes through presidency. Yeah. So formally it's not on paper, but informally it exists, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So what happens? Or we go the Uganda way, where Janet is the Minister of Education, Janet Museveni, so that formally you're doing some job, right? Or it remains the spouse, the ceremonial, she has to be there with the president. Or they pick a course that they can champion, right? So that is very necessary. So the side shows that contributed to the main agendas, most of them have been addressed. Most of them have been addressed. The fundamental, when this thing started, was reject the finance bill. It was the big one. It was addressed. It was rejected. Even that invites for goodwill, right? Then now there are these other issues that support the main issue. The main issue is that this country needs to change, and the agents of change are us. However, you will be the carriers of our vision. So the carriers of our vision must also be people who really and truly represent our ideologies and our wants. Are those people still with the president? I think that is the main question. The president has a constitutional mandate. He has the sole discretion to choose who works and who doesn't. Parliament only approves it. Because I'm telling you this, Charles, when they are done with the presidency, they're going to go to parliament. They will go to parliament. Because now they'll begin with their representative down in Migori Suna East. I look for Junet. Is he doing the right thing? Right? All my small brother and nieces will look for them. So this is something that continues. But first it has to start from the top, like they usually say, the proverbial fish. When President Ruto sorts the top, these guys are coming for the tail. Because Kenya has to change.
Yeah.
And okay,
there's something very interesting there that it almost flew off my mind.
Yeah.
That you should look at the president, look at the picture, the space he had carved himself in the global geopolitics. You know, that he's a young president, one of the most educated. He's cut from a different type of cloth from the other presidents.
Yes.
He speaks for Africa. He talks about the need for, almost like Thomas Sankara.
Yeah.
And then, and he was hosted in the US. Weeks later, what's happening? The whole world, CNN, Sky, the CNN effect, it is him and about deaths in his country by his military, by his forces. He's surrounded by tanks. And he was slowly becoming like, the image of the African strongman. So the president has to redeem his international image because he was fighting for it. And I think at a different level, I suspect that it must be agonizing him. That the things he's being associated with are very different from the trajectory that he promised. And he has no choice but to crack the whip on his friends, sacrifice friends, and restore confidence in himself.
Let me ask you, Tanui, just on that question. The president, we did the story, and this was a splash in the Standard, of how many times the president has traveled. 63 times in 20 months, right? 163, 166, and Kibaki 33 times. My question to you, Tanui, is this is an average of 3 times every month in the last 20 months.
Yes.
An average of 3 times out of this country in a month. The president has been in the country for 3 weeks straight. Is it by
isn't that a compliment? You compliment him. Can you compliment him? He's been with us the longest.
I haven't asked my question.
Yes.
The question is this. Is he not getting invites? Because you've just mentioned now the geopolitics, right? Is he not getting the invites, or he has to take care of business?
I'm sure the biggest secret in this country now is in his diary.
Yes.
How many countries were we waited for?
Yes.
And where were the advance parties? Where were the plane bookings, hotel bookings, security arrangements? And even locally, he's not going
anywhere.
He didn't even go.
He
didn't go to the burial of his deputy's sister's burial.
Yeah.
So I hope you're not just saying The youths can be very rough on the president. They said when he's not flying, he's lying. So I hope he's not flying, but he's not lying.
Both of them, because he's not flying. Definitely.
He's not flying.
So what is he doing?
He's
I'm
not
saying
lying.
anything.
He's not lying.
But the truth is, he's fighting fires.
He can't travel.
He's fighting.
And no one is living.
How do you live?
And the nature of this thing, the way it was so sporadic across the country, it was so unexpected. I don't know whether intelligence had picked it. So I suspect that is being given the brief that until we are sure about what we are dealing with, we will not allow you to travel. So it's very unlikely to start seeing the president going, saying to Tatenga on
and receiving delegations from other governments also.
So the thing is very, very, it's a turning point in Kenya. It's a turning point.
And remember, one of the things he said today is unnecessary travel. Cut.
So we'll determine what is
unnecessary.
He even said, and that's why I was saying this thing is
I hope it's cosmetic.
Because he said half of the advisors, who are those advisors? Because every minister has an advisor. So who are these advisors? And how do they advise? And what is a job description of an advisor? If you are competent for that position, well, there are experts you'll need occasionally at the president level, for example. But if you're a minister, why do you need an advisor on what you are doing when you have technocrats in the ministry?
Exactly.
We have an overlap of so many functions.
But don't forget something, Tanui. One of the people who have been speaking loudest at the young people is, for example, Dr. Devin D. Right?
Yes.
So when he says half, when Kenyans, the elephant in the room, when they say get rid of these people, that is one of the people who the young people are targeting. He's an advisor. So when the president says, I've cut by half, when eventually the names come out,
and
you know what
not there.
If that name is not there, Kenyans will not see the goodwill that Tanui is speaking about. Because that's what Kenyans want. They say, how can these guys ask for an extra 1.1 billion? For what? What are they advising? What he's talking about? What are they advising you? So at the end of the day, when cut by half, whether they're 16 or 116 or 120 or 10, they need to see 5. But out of those 5, who is in it? These people talking at us.
Ken, as we conclude this podcast, there were 2 issues which we need to address. One is that the Gen Z and the Twitter space. The President Tanui alluded to it that the president has come down from the ivory tower.
Does not allude.
I was waiting. So Tanui stated that the president has come to the ground.
Yes.
Are you sure that the president will sustain the abuse and the onslaught the changes?
Let me tell you, President Ruto is bold. And I always believed he was bold until Gen Z showed up. And I still believe he's bold. And the reason why I'm saying he's bold, for the president first to host the media interview, and he didn't know what was coming. He thought he knew what was coming. He was bold even to get, because ultimately, in whose balance was the favor? Did it favor him or did it expose him more? For the president, tell me which one in Africa, which president will want to speak to Wananchi who can tell you anything? For the president, again, to accept, whether he's moderating, whether he's a host or not, to accept. And by the way, there was an open mic just before he started.
I had him asking, have you unmuted me?
Exactly. And he didn't know he was live. So the good thing, he spoke about jobs, how many jobs. I think he was still being briefed. But for him to accept, to sit with these people who can tell you anything, and he's read the placards that they've been using in demos. These guys can tell you everything. For him to do that, I think he's very brave. I think he's very brave.
But there's a side to this that worries me. Let me just tell you a bit of Kalenjin politics, what is happening right now. See, they were shocked because the president says we have deconstructed the tribes. But all this thing is fueled by the feeling that one community, one ethnic group is in power. I don't know. It doesn't mean because I'm Kalenjin, Ruto is president, so I'm cutting the lagis. So, but you may not be able to deny me the feeling that because we Kalenjins are in power.
You're in power, yes, and you walk out.
That is in chest. But the shock that in Eldoret, that came out. Then the next thing, of course, you see the fight to suppress this. But what is happening is this. Our leaders are now going to the villages, and the message they are taking is, let's defend our president. We don't know when we'll have another Kalenjin. You know the bitterness of our politics. But And so people are being reminded as if everyone is a beneficiary of this gravy train that is riding, that Ruto is driving. I
Yes.
don't know. So, but the question that people are more critical people, people who are more critical asking is, what remains of the image of the Kalenjin leader
Yeah.
vis-a-vis the humility that we have brought up with, the humility, respect, and absence of pride. Huh? Where did it go? Where did we go wrong? And it's now being discussed in churches and all that, that there's a certain arrogance, sense of entitlement, sense of ownership of government by a few under the Kalenjin name who have driven us to where we are. And they are asking the president, please, you are the father of the nation. Whatever you have in your table, share with us, but remember the children of the other homes.
Yeah.
Because our name is being dragged and reputation that is being dragged through the mud. And so Ruto as a person, the senior most Kalenjin, I'm sure he's a national leader. He has to look now at how do I make a Taita, El Moro, or somebody from Sapaut, these small communities. How do I make them feel that
They're part of, yes. Yeah.
When you have all these guys displaying millions and saying, learn from us, we know.
Sudi saying, come behind us, we teach you.
Actually, Ruto has not talked about government that he rule for 10 years. It is his friends who are saying everywhere, we are not going anywhere. Actually, you feel like asking them, so we should not have an election in 2027. Tuache tu? Because you have an arrangement. Tuache tu. So, and the other thing that you guys need to ask yourself, and all Kenyans, is while battling all these fires, where is the one biggest task Kenyans gave Ruto, which is, you are president, the symbol of unity of the nation. What is he doing about that now that the country started? How is he trying to bring all these political tectonic plates drifting away? Gachagua pulling his side. All these others, just people have...
In fact, Tanui, I thought for the press conference today, the deputy president should have been right there beside the president.
Actually, I waited when that door opened and I realized it was him. And Mohammed had just
put his tab on.
Hussein was coming in and out, and I thought he was telling them now to send us the message of unity. I have the same scala of suits, shirts, and
zero.
Nothing. He came alone.
Zero.
So he's a lonely president now. But the thing is, what is he doing to unite the country? And you said Ruto is a bold politician. Yes, he's bold. But boldness also has to be informed by that humility to listen. And that's what is being told.
Yes.
And it's not for, there are jokes that go around, even among his friends, some distant friends, who talk, or friends of friends, that you've added to yourself, I think, that the president, when he meets advisors, the first thing he does is to advise them on how they should advise him.
Yes.
Others say, the only person that William listens to is Ruto, and the only person Ruto listens to is William. So those are things that, for me, the biggest headache, the biggest assignment he has, is to reassure the country that he is driving a solid, unitary government that has no fidelity to just those who are elected, but has the same duty and sense of obligation to those who voted against them. And the reason why this is important for people to understand is the rebellion now. Whereas him and Gachagua were thinking that it would be a Raila problem. We are beating our chests, spitting at those that we've defeated, crushing them on foot. The revolt is coming from those that elected him. Because remember, they were told, we don't want old people, we don't want the dynasties. So that's how he won against the Raila Uru side. Now they're asking, we take you for your word. You gave this promise, you didn't deliver. So, and we were with you. Now we are no longer with you. And they do not even have the patience to say, next election will not be you. They are saying, get out of State House. Yeah. Get out. He tries to say, get out. So I don't know how this get out will be.
Yes.
But Kenya has changed.
Okay, thank you, Tani. You said Kenya. Ken?
Yes.
Ngombe bado ni ngombe tu. You've heard where this young guy is saying. Ngombe, ngombe.
As my parting shot.
Yes.
As my parting shot.
Yes.
I think they took too much time
Yes.
to wake up and smell the coffee.
Yes.
But they're now in government.
Yes.
And they have a country to run. That was where the rain started beating them. They're smelling the coffee too late. Unfortunately, the coffee is being forced in the room. Yes. Smell it. Now they have to smell it. Yeah. They're dealing with what they shouldn't have dealt with. And finally, one of the things that was said during the election, do not introduce a class war in this election. It will haunt you. That's where we are.
Tanui, your parting shot? Amesema coffee, class war?
Mine is very simple.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of democracy. Democracy is listening to the largest number of advisors available and picking one. And they say democracy, that's Kenneth Kaunda used to say, it's like a garden flower. If you have one shade of flowers, that's not beautiful. You have to have roses, you have to have, all manner of flowers.
Yes.
So my own parting shot is, I think our president needs to spend more time with people who don't agree with him, not those who agree with him and all the offices they have on the behest of the president. Those who go and just say, sir. So they keep the paying obeisance to you, and they miss the opportunity to tell you, Mr. President, I think we should have done this and this way. So it needs to listen more, spend more coffee and juice sessions, when it doesn't take alcohol,
Yes.
with the people who have more ultra-violent views, so that he listens to different opinion. Otherwise, every session he has will be just talking about how sweet it was to have crushed Raila, and that we are in power. But that's irrelevant now.
Yeah.
Kenyans elected you not to do post-mortem and tell us what was so wrong. 2 years later, you are still telling us what was too wrong. Tell us where we are going and what you are doing to take us there.
Yeah.
Give us a solution, listen to us, move with us. Bright as will not take you far.
Now that you say that, you say jokes, I have to say also mine. The joke that I've seen going around
Yes.
is Fungua ile by a state house. You know, that's
Always
truthful.
Yeah?
When you're drunk,
Yes.
I'll tell you the truth.
The president, take care. The first lady will put you in the list of the people to be prayed for
intercessed.
because you are wishing the husband. Be very careful. There's a whole wing in State House that
For
is
praying.
That's a direct line to heaven. Sort of, they pray
Yeah,
for divine
No,
intervention.
ameambiwa fungua ile bar. Probably mtu ata Moses Kuria. Siku moja atakunywa vibaya akwambie Mr. President. Yeah.
But on a serious note, it is important to listen and digest what people have to tell you, because we do not have to come to this level where even just mere mention that there might be a protest, shops close, people arm themselves, and when shop owners arm themselves, it means that they have no faith in the security machinery, and the police who are going to be outnumbered. And not even outnumbered alone, they are going to be tired. I remember in the state, the issues that were being discussed were very, very touching the police. I saw, these young guys are very, very aggressive. They actually pulled down the pay slip of one of the guys, the police officers that is being accused, and it showed this cooperative loan, whatever it is, circle loan, and that the take home 35,000. I think his salary is 35,000. So I don't know after that those deductions. So that ordinary policeman carrying tear gas and shooting these kids who have nothing against them.
Yes,
we're fighting for you.
Yes, they're fighting for you.
Yeah.
Soon you tire. And
And
the
you
danger
join
we are
them.
going is where people will say,
Yeah.
Mr. President, it's up to you now.
Yeah, it's up to you,
They just, some of them were even sharing water. You see, tear gas is thrown.
Yeah, they give the
I
police
didn't
level.
know. When the technology of riots, I've been in riots. I didn't know that guys calculate the time within which you must pick the tear gas canister before it explodes and return to the sender. These guys know. They are physicists. They know.
These guys knew what to do to immobilize the police cannon. They said, kuna kitu pale chini, if you go, this thing will not move. But repairing it needs 2 hours. Did we know that?
Gentlemen, I think it has been very interesting to have this conversation with you. We meet next week again, and unpack more of President Ruto's reaction to the Gen Zs and the changes the country needs. It has been a great session with you. Asanteni sana.
Thank you.
Thank you.